Hello, and welcome to this reflective episode. Both myself and Andy have just seen the Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal documentary. We finished it, just a few minutes ago, maybe like 10, 20 minutes ago. Both of our eyes are red. I just want to go straight into it rather than doing the intro, but it gives us time to compose ourselves, I suppose. We're going to compose ourselves. We're going to get back into some of the details. Thank you all for joining us, whether you're joining us right now or you're joining us in the future. We really, really appreciate it. We're going to be back with some notes on the Becoming Immortal documentary after a nice message from Mick Foley, I think.
This is the hardcore legend, Mick Foley. Well, hello and welcome to Give Me a Oh Yeah. I hope everyone there, right there in Yorkshire, is having a nice day. Bang, bang. Have a nice day. Yeah.
Thank you, Mick. And Andy, it is a pleasure, first and foremost, to see you again. Obviously, I am not on the channel very much these days. You have a busy week ahead. You are heading to WrestleMania. We'll talk about that towards the end as we get into chats and comments. We appreciate we've got a couple as well already in. Thank you so much for those. But yeah, Andy, how are you feeling? First off, about the documentary, and then we'll go into your WrestleMania experience a little bit later on. How are you feeling? 20 minutes out of a very emotional. I could see it in your eyes, and I'm sure you could see it in mine. Like we said, like I'm still feeling it, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good in relative terms, but as you said, I think we've pretty much finished it, not by design, but we finished it about the same time.
Yeah.
And there's no way to watch it in the UK at the moment by like kind of logging onto the network, etc. But there is ways to watch it. So there are ways around it. You can get a VPN and you can go. It's not illegal. There's VPNs you can pay money for. Make sure you got that good connection, that safe and secure connection.
Yep.
Sign up to Peacock. In America, and that's the way you can watch it, and that's what both myself and Dom have done. Let's kind of get ahead of it. Unfortunately, you can't watch it on the network. We don't know if there's plans to put it on the network.
Yeah, I heard there's plans to put it on the network somewhere down the line. You can always, Google watch wrestling. I don't know what happens if you do that. I'm just saying it's possible. Watch and wrestling, two terms, separate, coming together. You could do that. But we both did it via, I used ExpressVPN, which is a totally legitimate service, and obviously logged into Peacock that way so that I could do this, so that we could do this together. And that's how we watched it. Hopefully it will be on the network for people, but there's obviously, enough about it now out there. A lot of people have seen it. I don't know what people have seen in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on what you've seen, heard, watched. If you've seen it, if you've not seen it, what have you heard? We'll try and be as well. It's difficult because if you haven't seen it, we'll try and be as vague as possible. But also, there's it's a beautiful documentary. Yeah. It really is beautiful.
We should probably say ahead of time, as a bit of a disclaimer, two things. One, there probably is going to be spoilers because at the end of the day, we're doing a bit of a review, and spoiler seems a strange term because, like when watching something like the Titanic, you know what's going to happen at the end, but it's about the kind of emotional journey that you go on in the documentary. And and one of the other things I want to put a disclaimer about is we are going to be talking about sensitive subject, which is death. So if you are affected by that, and there's a lot of people still affected by the passing of Windham Rotunda, please be advised that we are going to be going into a little bit about what is talked about in the documentary. So I just want to get ahead of it and just say, disclaimer, there is content where we'll be talking about death.
Absolutely.
And the reason I want to do this as well is because Dom and myself, probably more so Dom, are big Bray Wyatt fans. Will always be Bray Wyatt fans. This isn't about wanting to get ahead of anything. We wanted to watch this documentary as soon as possible because as soon as it was announced, we both got goosebumps. We were both very excited to see it. How are they going to do it? Like, what's going to be in it? Is it going to be a cookie cutter documentary? Are we going to see something special? And I'm pleased to say, and I'm sure Dom is going to say, it fits into the latter, and we'll go into the reasons why. But yeah, I just want to say, really excited to be talking about it. We would just wanted to watch that documentary because, especially Dom wants to honor it. So Dom, I'll throw it back over to you. But we just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and again, it's a real pleasure to be here with you. Because me and you have had loads of talks about Bray and the impact of Bray, and much deeper conversations around the impact of those characters, in private. So to sit here with you, Andy, is a real pleasure. I don't come back on this channel very often, but this is really important to me, and you can probably still hear it in my voice. And I said this to Emma, like I've never experienced the love of a character like this. All my favorite wrestlers outside of Bray are still going. Mick Foley, Raven, 1, 2, 3 Kid, X-Pac, Sean Waltman, they're still here. And I've never experienced this. And I was bawling my eyes out, Andy, and explaining to Emma, like, this is really getting me. And Emma's like, don't worry about it. I completely understand, And to me, this is such an alien thing to have this fiction. I never met Bray. I know lots of people, the wonderful insiders community. Shout out to them if any of those guys happen upon this. Lots of love to all of you at this time. I never met Bray. He just had the same birthday, 23rd of May. But I just connected with his character, and I've never really connected. Since I've talked about this a lot. Since Mankind, since Mick Foley, and characters like that. And Bray was just so important to, as someone with a disability, someone that looks different, someone that feels a little bit different. Bray was all of that to me. And to see how someone, and I think that's the crux of this, Andy, someone could touch so many people, not just out in the world, without millions of people all over, but his family, like the people that saw him most every day, they thought he was the absolute, dog's knackers. Pardon my phrasing. I couldn't think of anything else there. They thought he was the best thing in the world. And I'm like, man, it made me, I actually left the documentary, feeling very emotional, very sad, still am. But like feeling really motivated to create, but also to just be a good human being, listening to, I've got a couple of shots here, they're all public domain, of course, the family together, things like that, these people, these kids, the kids at the end and the family, just everybody loved him so much. And I was just like, man, what a legacy to leave. We talk about legacy a lot in interviews. If you go on, our platforms, various platforms, WrestleSphere, whatever. But as an interview question, it's great. But actually, when you think about it, what a legacy to leave. Not about it's not about the showbiz, not about the glamour of the wrestling world. He was just a good dude, fundamentally. And I think we all. I don't know. I mean, do people strive for that? I feel like people strive for that. I'm certainly striving for that, And I left feeling very motivated by everybody in that documentary. I know that's it. You said off air, like, it was a documentary. It was a documentary in every sense. Of course, they're going to have people, there that want to sing Bray's praises, but everybody in there got emotional. You saw real tears. You saw real emotional connection to a person, not just a character. And obviously, the world sees Bray Wyatt as a character predominantly, but actually, this was a real glimpse into the person behind that, and just. I mean, maybe I'm a little biased, but it was my favorite wrestling documentary I've ever seen, just because of the emotional connection I have to the character, the lovely comments from there was Rowan there was Alexa Bliss, the stuff from Triple H was really interesting. Of course, the dynamic between the two of them, and also some lovely talk about Harper as well. Obviously it was a documentary centered around Bray, but the stuff around Luke Harper, the stuff around Brody Lee was really touching as well. And to see Bray be so cut up about Brody just kind of showed you how emotional and emotion driven this person was. He just loved people, and I think that's what comes across from the people that knew him. Like, we didn't know him, but like watching this was like, man, what a lovely soul. What a lovely soul, man. And I came away with, and this is my final point on it, I came away with a real drive to create things, to to build stuff, and I came away with a drive to just try and be a nice person to the people around me, and just not focus too much on what I'm not doing or what I'm. But actually, there's a lot of people close to me that love me very much, and actually, that's a privilege, and a real privilege to have that, and obviously, Andy, you with a family yourself, and obviously I've said this off record plenty of times, but obviously I feel like you understand what that's like. You seem to, I mean, we all love you very much, but you are very loved from what I can see by your family. And so I wonder, and it's a little bit different, I guess, for you as someone that's raising kids, obviously I am in a different way, but how did it connect with you? Because I saw the red of your, like I said when we started, I saw the red of your eyes. I know you've been crying as well. So how did it affect you on an emotional level?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say, and we'll try and make it as coherent as we can, because it's sort of brain dump, and we just want to kind of like get our thoughts. But let's just take it a step back, because for me, I said just before we came on, I think you can kind of compartmentalize. It's a 2-hour, 2-minute documentary, so it's not a short time. No. To me, you can have the first part and then the second part, and the second part kind of extends for the last half an hour, 25 minutes. The first, what comes before that is very much the life of Windham Rotunda and how he became the man he was. And I made notes, and I'm sure Don made some mental notes and things like that. And I thought like some interesting points, like straight out of the gate, you learn a little bit about the US Express, and you find out about Bray's dad and his uncle and the lineage and the legacy of that family and everything that kind of went before him. And I think that was a great thing just before those guys are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And it's a little sneak peek of what you can expect. And seeing that was really cool, because it then goes, all right, well, he had these huge shoes to kind of step into. And I think anyone who aspires to be something in life and has parents who have achieved something or you look up to, that sets the table very nicely to say, like, how is he going to be able to live up to those expectations, to that name. And the other really cool thing is, straight away, I think is one of the first shots you see is a friend of WrestleSphere in Jason Baker, who actually features very prominently throughout, which was super cool, because Dom's had the pleasure of interviewing Jason Baker, who, as you can see here, he's created the masks for Bray. A very talented guy, created the masks for Black Phone and other horror movies. And you see him talking to Taylor. And I'm really sorry, we're probably going to bounce a little bit in calling Windham and Bray and Taylor and Bo, and like kind of, because it all kind of amalgamates into the same sort of stuff. But you then hear like his influences of watching Ghostbusters and watching Beetlejuice and reading the Goosebumps books, and that kind of sets the table, and that kind of stuff. I was like, I like that little like thing. And you kind of get into it that he's a football player, and then he went on to be a wrestler after that, because obviously he has that in with his dad, and he just wanted to get into it with his brother. And I thought that was really interesting. And you kind of hear it about from the beginning. You go through the FCW days, and then even getting his ex on, who sometimes when you like have a bad relationship and it breaks down, they don't want to talk about that. But Samantha, his ex, and the mother of his first two kids, speaks very eloquently and very highly of him, and just said like they grew apart, they grew different directions, and that happens sometimes. And seeing her on this, and as Dom said, the reverence that people hold him in and talk about him is so special, and that's what kind of seeps throughout the whole documentary. But yeah, like that, I thought that was really cool. What did you think of having Samantha on it in particular? You're on mute.
Sorry, man, I was typing to try and find some more images, but we've run out of images because I've put so many on here. I think it's a great question, and Andy, thank you for coming on here and keeping everything organized and tight. This is you're the pro. I thought that was where that comment came from for me, where to be so loved by people. That's where that came from. When you see that he was such a good, he was a very good person, because people that probably haven't always gotten on with him, or haven't always seen eye to eye, and I include Triple H in that. I include some of the creative team that have featured on that, and I think that's important. This is a tribute documentary in every sense of the word, Andy, but there are notes of people saying, oh, he was difficult to work with sometimes, and also again, you have Samantha on there paying tribute to somebody that again, not to assume, but probably hasn't always gotten on with Windham on a personal level, but is there crying and wants to be with this person, in terms of wanting to be there on his last, wanted to be there with the family when he passed and things like that. And that really is something special, so I thought that was great. I thought the interviews, if I'm being honest, I thought the interviews were really good. I wonder, I understand why Hogan was there and why Flair was there, but then I would have rather seen more from you Strowman's, because you saw Strowman with real tears. More from Alexa Bliss about the creative work that they did, which again, you see again from a professional standpoint, just how revered he was, just as an artist. And I think that's what came across. It's like he was very successful, globally renowned, but fundamentally the guy was an artist and a creative who not everything landed. And going back to your point about the FCW days, obviously, we'll talk quite heavily about Taylor in this. Taylor obviously was, apart from the Undertaker, Mark Calaway, who narrated it, Taylor was the core of this a lot of the time. And just to see those FCW days and see how close they were, because I didn't really, as a fan, you don't see that. I thought that they, for all I knew before this documentary, they could have been like, meh, they could have thought that they could have been okay with each other. They could have been, you know what I mean? You just didn't know. But actually, you got a real sense that they were tight, tight, right up until his last days. There's a story there about getting, them getting a rattlesnake out of, a garage together on some break. And so some of this is really, emotional, and I would absolutely, it is worth your time, all 2 hours and 2 minutes of it, because there's some very personal stories there, where these brothers are pretty much together all the time. And actually it tells you the story of what it was like for them both being released. And actually, Andy, one of the things that I was really pleased to hear about, going back to that creative point, was that, those years where we were missing Bray Windham, he was creating, he was painting, he was creating art, he was doing stuff that he loved. And I think that kind of gave me, as a fan, kind of made me feel better about those times. I felt, obviously I missed the character, but I was like, oh my God, it must suck. And of course it did suck being out of work and all the other things, from what we know as fans, but he was creating stuff all the time. The guy was just a whirlwind of stuff, and I just thought that was beautiful. That was one of my favorite details in there, was JoJo going into the art room that Bray had, untouched as well. Yeah. Untouched at the time, at least. And she went in there and showed off all his artwork that he'd done while they were off. And also my final point on the brothers, they were going to do a pilot. They were going to do a ghost story,
supernatural cryptid
supernatural investigating thing.
I would have watched the hell out of that, by the way.
Yeah, I would have watched that too. I wonder if there's any episodes somewhere. Maybe we'll see one down the line. But that was beautifully done. And like you say, your points, very excellently made, of course, on seeing his dad and mum there talking about him, that really hit home, because like you said, you're younger than you're coming up to the age Bray was. I'm over that age. And it's like, you can't even fathom that. The detail they went into on that last day of Windham's existence, and they were all together. And the most touching moment for me was Bo, Taylor talking about lifting everybody up and, feeling Windham there. it's not something we can really describe. I know this is the point of a review stream,
Yeah.
but really this is something I think people are going to go and have to watch to experience, because that was just such a difficult. It must have been so difficult. I can't imagine what that was like. But anyway, go on.
And I think that, like, when we spoke about it, you've got the first part of the documentary is you could probably watch it as someone who's never seen anything about Bray Wyatt and learn who he was. But for the wrestling fans, and I'll be quite candid here, you could watch the last half an hour, and that's where the emotional kick really hits you, because that last half an hour is kind of encompassing of the latter stages. So you've got the as you said before about John Huber passing away, and you kind of see that slow, almost deterioration of like the problems, because everyone that you know who's artistic in particular has struggles because they want acceptance, they want validation that what they're doing is loved and liked.
We like obviously not nearly at the level, of course, but we're talking about. But you and I know what that's like. We've had many conversations about this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can
I think that really hit home.
Yeah, and that shines throughout, because you can see that Bray has these ideas, and as you say, like sometimes they don't land. And I did like, as you said, that Triple H, a couple of times, it was so difficult on occasions to work with Bray because he had too many ideas, and he specifically says, I had to have a conversation with him where he says, when the bell rings, how does his character come across? Because it's all well and good doing all these video packages, but when it rings, that's what wrestling is going to be. So how do you tell that story bell to bell? And I think a lot of the criticism for Bray has always come around how good a wrestler was he? How good in the ring was he? Because he's a great storyteller. But I thought they did a fantastic job of highlighting those matches, like the stuff with John Cena was great, because you like the shot of the fans and the fireflies, and you could see like everyone like waving their hands and things like that, and they showcase that stuff. But they don't shy away from any kind of criticism. Like he was obviously at times would have been very troubled, very difficult to work with. But so that last half an hour, he talks about and gets emotional about the passing of John Huber, formerly known as Luke Harper, and then you go into like him. I didn't know that he hated the Burnt Fiend stuff, in like, and they go into that. They say like, no, he just didn't like it. Like it ruined his vision. He then really struggled mentally of how do I get back onto my creativity and like what I wanted it to be. And that's why they had him transform before, WrestleMania when he came out, and he couldn't see and like he couldn't move as a wrestler, and that really kind of like weighed heavily on him. And then you go into that artistic Bray, and seeing that side was the moments for me was great, because you could go back and you could see all this stuff on the network of his matches and how he came up, and it's great. It's cool to have it in one place in one documentary, but the bits that shine are when you lift that veil and you see Dad Bray or the artist Bray or this guy who was a bit of a tortured soul and maybe misunderstood and a storyteller. And that's the stuff where you're like, okay, I can really relate to that on the human level. And like, yes, it is a bit of wrestling, but seeing the build up and his backstage stuff to Extreme Rules, where he's in the trailer and he's just doodling and he's doing some sketches, and then he comes out and gets like one of the biggest pops we've seen in decades, and that was really cool, because you can see how much it meant to him as well. I got chills.
I cried then, and I cried again watching it back. And I think that's, this is the one time where I feel like it's appropriate in this context to bring up an interview I did last year with Eric Rowan. It's on our WrestleSphere platform, and I asked him about, supernatural gimmicks in wrestling. And Bray was so adamant. I think it's in the post Royal Rumble press conference after the Mountain Dew match. He's so adamant that character work, the Papa Shango, the Undertaker, can still work. And Rowan confirmed as much to me when we spoke, that he felt the same way, but it has to work on TV. But the point is that I admired the guy. I admired Bray so much for fighting for silliness, for the Firefly Funhouse, for the entertainment aspect of it. We're so understandably, we're so enamored with kind of, the athletes, The Rock and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, of course, are the front runners at the moment. But actually, Bray was so willing to take risks, and I think that was it, wasn't it? Was it John Cena at the end, or somebody at the end had said, Bray was was revolutionized the sport because he was the guy that took the risks that nobody else was going to take, because everyone was doing sports entertainment. Everyone's always done sports entertainment, at least over the last 10, 20 years, maybe 15. Yeah, but I mean, the equivalent to that would have been Undertaker and Papa Shango, and I'm trying to think of one more recent than Bray. But
not to be harsh, it was easier back then because you didn't have hours and hours of content to fill, and you didn't have social media that you had to steer into. Those guys could make an appearance one week and then not be seen for a few weeks, and then have a match that was a few minutes. Doesn't fly these days. Bray had this difficult challenge that. And with all great respect of what Papa Shango and Undertaker were, back in the day, they did some great stuff, and probably without them, Bray doesn't exist. In fact, he says so in this. That was the stuff that he was drawn to. But as you say, sorry, I cut you off. He was a creative light in a time where there was very few other things going on in terms of that, kind of almost hokey-ish, supernatural stuff, which absolutely has a place.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alexa Bliss said that, and she says this in a lot of interviews, and it must mean something when Alexa Bliss, who's done is the picture perfect WWE superstar. Her best moments in her career were the spooky stuff, because it was entertaining, because it was fun, and I wonder if that's that's something that I guess I will take away from this, is that fight for your, without trying to sound over the top, it's like fight for your creativity, because it'll touch so many people. The Fireflies, it was, the Fireflies was an organic thing. Bray said as much in an audio clip. People connected with it. The Insiders built an entire channel on it. And all the best to them, of course. There's so many people that have connected with this. And there were some lovely clips that I think were on social media originally of Bray connecting with fans, outside of arenas, him making the time to take photos, to do these things. I'm like, man, what a good king dude, I made a
note about that. He was called Guy, and he was dressed as Bray Wyatt. He kisses his hand and stuff, and I was so touched. And I was like, you could see it generally meant something to it, which is really cool. But as I said, the reason why we keep kind of referring back to being a bit sort of red-eyed and teary and stuff is they go into the events of August 24th, and I can only say, I can only describe it as sobbing. It's a rough watch. It's pretty harrowing because the way that it's done, and kind of spoilers, because this is where the story of what happens, but you don't know what is going into the documentary is. It comes from the family. It comes from JoJo finding him, and kind of going into story about what happened that day, how they got to that point. It goes through who found out by the phone calls, and the family finding out, and some of the WWE superstars finding out. And as I said, the rattlesnake story, even that came even before that, and knowing that the end is kind of coming, but. Even after that, you then see the footage of the funeral and the celebration and stuff, and and that is really candid stuff, because I've never seen the flame urn that you had.
It was beautiful. The red light as well, so cool.
Yeah, and then they had it was all in red, and they were wearing red because obviously that really famous line said, "I am the color red in the world of black and white," and kind of really living by who he was. Seeing the eulogies by Taylor and his sister Micah. And kind of get to see that, I almost felt I don't know if I could see this, because this is such a personal thing.
It was very special, and you're right, Andy, and this is why it's so nice to have your perspective on here. That the last half of it, guys, it will really tug at your heartstrings. I think if you've ever experienced, with respect, if you've ever experienced death or loss, be mindful to take care of yourself. Be mindful to watch for someone you care about. Or who cares about you, just because it is, if you've experienced any loss, it takes me back now, it really is, it may be triggering for you, but it is well handled, by everybody involved. I think on the whole, it was well handled.
Yeah, very tasteful.
It is tastefully done. I'm mindful of your time, Andy. There's a couple more points I want to make, sort of in conclusion. I think you have, is it another 45, or another half an hour, or another 15 minutes?
I can go half an hour. I can push back. Right. We're going to do an NXT preview.
So over on Wrestling Royalty and Give Me a Hull Yeah, which is now combined, so probably on both. You'll be able to see Andy there in a bit, and we will talk about WrestleMania because I'm using this as a catch up with you as well. I do want to ask that, but there was some lovely moments around what could have been. There was the Fiend that never was, that could have been, that Jason Baker showed us all. Obviously there was ideas, potentially years worth of ideas, Andy, in that conclusion, which just goes to show you how creative that mind was and how many people he had on side. That's the thing is, the thing that I got from this is, even though he was difficult to work with at times, he still had people on side, man. He still had people. These people still loved him, even if they found him difficult to work with, and people were still going to invest time and energy into, these gimmicks, into the new Fiend. And we'll talk about the conclusion at the end, in a minute. But I just want to get your thoughts on what is this? Talking about painting and art, what did this documentary, as someone that didn't know Bray, what did it paint for you as a wrestler, as a performer, as a creative? How did this documentary paint the person and the artist Windham Rotunda for you?
So this is like a kind of two-pronged answer, because I've been very fortunate that I've covered WrestleMania media for different outlets, and my first one was at WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. And I somehow managed to get an invite where I was doing media. And what they did in that on that particular one is they had access, WWE Access they used to do, which this year is obviously, I think, it's WWE World. But they'd had a ring set up. And before all that opened, very early in the morning, I got in a coach and went across here with all the other journalists and all the other media, and I set up. And we were set up, and then the superstars came in. You could kind of see them like filing in. And it was like, oh, look, there's Seth Rollins, and there's Dean Ambrose, and there's Cesaro and Sheamus, and course, like, oh, this is really cool. And then Bray walks in, and I'm not like, this isn't hyperbole or anything like that, or whatever. He walked in, and the hairs on my arm stood up. He was a guy amongst all these other superstars where you were like, dude, this dude has a presence. Like, he is like a big guy that he holds himself like, and I just thought, this is a guy who knows who he is, holds himself that way. And I didn't know him. I didn't get to interview him. He did the radio interview, so I didn't get a chance to kind of chat with him there, which is such a shame. But you could just see that everyone was kind of talking to him, and he like was such a magnetic force that people were kind of like really into when they were talking to him. And the creativity side, and like seeing that that new Fiend that was coming, and like the kind of seeds were planted, and you see like the different lantern that they'd made where it was going to have robotics in it and animatronics, and the eyes were going to move, and it looks really cool, and like the new suit and all the little touches, like the pinstripes were the names of his kids, and even the stitches on the mask were Roman numerals for his wedding anniversary, or dates that mean something to him, and things like that. And like even the what was it, the Mockingbird? Was it the Mockingbird?
Yeah, the Mockingbird, because he called JoJo Mockingbird.
Yeah, and having all that, and like the creative stuff, and like for me, even like the first time I saw Bray Wyatt, as in the cult leader Bray Wyatt, not Husky Harris, that cult leader one, I wrote a short story for in my journalism degree, where it was about a cult leader, and I very much based the character on Bray Wyatt, because like I just thought, what a cool thing. Like, yes, he took inspiration from, and I knew straight away, and I'm really glad that they kind of justified it and had it in that he took inspiration from Rob De Niro, Cape Fear, and he took it from Waylon Mercy. But I was like, what a charismatic thing to have, and like that you can understand why people will be drawn to him. So as a creative person, I was like, I got to go take that short story that I did in journalism. I've got to go make that into an actual story now, because I want to kind of like have some of the quirks that Bray Wyatt had, and one day hopefully I can release it, and in part to tribute for someone who can be so creative and inspirational, and show you that if something doesn't work, you can reinvent yourself as anything that you want to be. And like, he was forced into having that Husky Harris thing because of his weight. And like, my God, I could talk for another couple of hours about, weight issues and whatever, but he didn't let that affect him. He went, that's not me. And he had someone take a gamble on him. And sometimes all you need is someone to believe in you. And he had Triple H, who took him to the side and went, what do you got? Yeah. And he came with that Bray Wyatt cult leader figure. And
absolutely. And Dusty, Andy, as well, of course. There's some really nice footage. Really nice footage of their first, his first match with his brother, and his dad's there, and Dusty's there, and some audio from Dusty, interviews from Dusty. There are also interviews of Windham as Husky Harris. So really, that first half does have some gems in it. Like you say, the support from Dusty, the support from Triple H. And I think that belief is there. Like I say, Triple H is very well trained in these types of things. He knew there was something special. He knew it was going to be difficult, and he reflected. He didn't lie. He said it was difficult, but he knew how important Windham was as a character. And I think that was amazing on a professional standpoint and a personal standpoint, of course. Becky Lynch was interviewed. There was so many people interviewed there. LA Knight as well, was in there too. And obviously he only worked with him at the tail end of Bray's time, and clearly touched him, clearly made an impact, clearly taught something. And I think that was, on his the training for his return with Natalia and TJ. Is it TJ? Yeah. I was trying to think of his ring name. It's gonna get me. It's gonna annoy me now. I can't figure out. Tyson Kidd. There you go, Tyson Kidd. But they, how hard he was training, but to return, but also that he was offering advice and support to the younger generation. He clearly cared about the business, and the idea that the show must go on, and that is, again, just to make sure that we because I want to catch up with you about, get you ready for WrestleMania and talk about that as well before we finish up. Talking about the show must go on, Andy.
We have to post a big spoiler thing right here and be
it is out there. Obviously, people have put it. The websites have been reporting it already. But I just want to take this moment. If you do not want to know what happens at the end of this documentary, we've loved having you. Thank you for being here. But we don't want to ruin this for you, so please do leave. And we will take a couple of seconds.
Or maybe don't leave, but mute us.
Mute us. Yeah,
we'll try not to reenact things with our hands, but just don't listen for the next few minutes, because it's a really exciting thing, and if you want to live through it by the documentary, as it's obviously supposed to be. But these days, the news comes out. You might have already seen it on social media, but we can't see any more spoilers. We go into it now.
Yeah, there is obviously a comment even here. I think it was Mark who commented as well. So the documentary is rolling, and I'm crying, and I'm saying to Emma how beautiful this is, and that was really well done. About ready to get ready to come and get set up for this stream. All of a sudden, the starts glitching out in Bray Wyatt style, I guess.
Yeah, Undertaker's done his little bit.
Thank
you for being part of this. He pours out a couple of glasses of whiskey, takes his shot. And the static just kind of starts in. Yeah,
and I think that was the cheesy documentary ending, wasn't it? I was like, okay, that's all right. This is a bit odd. I did think obviously Mark Calaway, Undertaker, did do a great job narrating it, but it ended with the Undertaker cheersing, with a cheers to Bray, which was a lovely moment. But again, a sort of documentary trope, I guess. But this was anything but, Andy. This was glitching screen, a smoky room with a lantern that is, switched off. There is no life in that lantern, and all of a sudden it starts flickering, Andy, and it flickers on. The lantern comes on, and we have a figure with a familiar hat and familiar frame. Not to say that's definitely who it is, but looked a little bit like Uncle Howdy. What were your thoughts on this ending, Andy? I was obviously, me and Emma were just emotional, and obviously, my partner had struggled with some of the themes in it, so we were kind of comforting each other. So Emma was kind of managing that, but it was something that I obviously noticed, and I haven't had a chance to watch it back. And obviously, I'm talking about it here for the first time.
Yeah.
Are you? I know that they're doing a panel at WrestleMania this week, aren't they? They're doing a panel, and I know Taylor is a part of that.
Is it? Is it confirmed? Because I know like Natalia's on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think Taylor was supposed to be on it last time I checked.
Right.
The panel for it. What are your thoughts about that ending? Was it the right thing to do? I mean, obviously for fans, it was. It was a beautiful use, I guess, of the documentary.
Okay, all I can say on that is you've just heard for the last 2 hours and minute and 30 seconds, and this is so short, by the way. It is literally like 20 seconds, if that. And if you've not paid attention to everything that's happened before that, where Bray and everyone who's close to him talks about how creative he is and how he wanted to have these old things, it is the perfect thing to do. And to me, without knowing the guy, he would not have wanted anything different. Like, if his legacy's like kind of talked about, and then it throws it forward, and it's kind of like this, because Taylor/Bo kind of talks about it with Jason Baker, and he says he lit a fire under me after he passed away. Like, and I want to honor him, and I want to carry it forward. And he kind of like, oh, that's cool, but I don't know if that's going anywhere. And then to see this like thing at the end where you're like, that is Uncle Howdy, and the fact that they've done this at the end is so brave. It is
it made me so happy, man. And I just wanted to get your perspective on it, because obviously, it's a documentary honoring Bray, but yeah, that creativity and the creativity of the team as well. Of course, Rob Fee is in this documentary. Jason Baker heavily featured. These are all people involved in that vision. They were involved in the vision. They can support Taylor to do this. And for all we know, maybe they were planning something. I'm not saying in this circumstance, but maybe this was, maybe there were, creative plans to move the Uncle Howdy character forward, or Taylor forward as a character, and we may see that. I don't want to get too excited. Oh
no, I'd say get excited. You put videos out where you said where you talk about it, and it means a lot to you, and like that kind of lineage and the idea that maybe Bray's ideas can live on in the future, and kind of including Taylor/Bo talks about it where he said their dream was to have a WrestleMania moment together, and that will never happen, but can it happen? Is there a way that in the future we do get that moment for them, even though he's not here? They'll still have that moment together, and it will mean a lot to Taylor when it happens as well. And I thought it was a really nice way to end something that was quite heavy in places, but it's such I just sat there and went, what a brave thing to do.
It's got us again. They've got us again. There it is. Because obviously they talk you through the QR codes and all that stuff. And again, a lot of that is the team, and credit to WWE's production team for helping Bray do all that stuff. And carry that vision forward. That is also an essential part of this documentary. Is that this guy had a vision. This person had a vision, and people believed in him enough throughout his career, not just at the beginning, throughout his career, to help, despite difficulty, despite challenges, help him carry it forward. And I just think that is so cool that people gave so much of an S word about this guy and his vision that they invested so much time and energy. Jason Baker's a perfect example. Rob Fee is a perfect example. Triple H is a perfect example. Braun Strowman, Alexa Bliss, all of these people loved working with the guy. And it's the first time, and I think, talking about, going forward, it's the first time I've really seen Taylor, apart from his character, apart from Bo Dallas, apart from Bo Leave, and apart from, the B team. And here we saw a very different side. And I'm very excited to see what he does in the future. Talking about, is there anything else you want to add, Andy? Because I do want to, obviously before you go and do the NXT stuff, I want to get your sort of thoughts on WrestleMania and stuff, and how you're feeling about that, because you are going in a few days. I'm absolutely overjoyed I got to see you, because I hadn't planned to see you. So I'm happy I got to see you before you went. But in terms of your closing thoughts as the organised one, and the one that is much more succinct in his thought process, how do you feel about this? What are your closing thoughts on the documentary Becoming Immortal?
I'm really glad that they've done this. I think it will bring a lot of people some closure in terms of like him as a person, and like kind of getting to know that story even more. And I thought they threw it forward, which is great. And I also thought it was a really nice way. Like, the documentary is undoubtedly about Bray Wyatt / Windham Rotunda, but you get to know the people around him. Like, I thought his sister came across fantastically well, who, by the way, is the absolute spitting image of her dad. Like, it's scarily like how much that family is. And Taylor in particular, like seeing that different side to him, like he looks like he's on the verge of tears the whole way through. I understand why Bray's not going in the Hall of Fame this year because of watching this, because it's too raw right now.
Yeah,
like for them to really honor it. And I also think that maybe they like want to see how this pans out with Taylor / Bo, whatever he's going to go by in the future. Is like, will that kind of even more like kind of boost Bray's kind of legacy in the company, and there's something to talk about in the future as well. But I just want to say, like, talking to legacy, seeing his kids playing at the end with their uncle, and like seeing that his eldest looks the absolute spitting double of her dad, and like his second eldest is like looks like Taylor, and I was like, what a beautiful family. And like, and just for me, like, if I don't think I'll ever have a documentary made about me, but if people would say even half the nice things that they said about this, I would be a happy man. Like, to know that I'd made an impact on people, and like that's what I strive for, trying to be someone in the creative like landscape. And I know that's the same for you. Is like, it's very important. Every interview that Dom does, he likes to ask that question about legacy, because I think it means a lot to him. It means a lot to me. Is we both want to leave the world a better place, and that if it gives people an outlet, like WrestleSphere, like Gimme Hole Yeah, Wrestling Royalty, that people can feel safe in, then we've done our job as human beings. And that's very much what Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal is about, is that legacy that will live on forever. And I just thought it was a fantastic way of honoring him, and a fantastic way to give people something back, to go, here's something for his life, and try and aspire to that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it, isn't it? And I think that obviously, again, we're at a very different level, of course, in terms of audience, but this is why I do say the things I do say to you, Andy. I think meeting you, really, really motivated me, and just sitting here with you now still motivates me. Your voice messages and the way that you conduct yourself, and just to be around you is very motivational. So I will use this public forum to say, all of the stuff that I say to you off record is absolutely true, and everyone's, people that we know have got a lot of love for you. You know what I mean? So, just, well,
the feeling is mutual. But we say a lot off screen.
We do.
Tom's a very hardworking guy, and as I say, I think we both feel like legacy is important, and giving people that space to kind of feel safe in and look forward to as well.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's what it's taught me. And that's what I took away from it, was just to be, just to try and be a better person every day, and try and help people out. And I think that, again, that seems to be what you know, you and I have very similar values in that respect. And, you know, I'm very, very proud to know you and very proud to have this audience actually and be back here on the Gimme a Hull Yeah channel. You know, Anthony has been doing incredible work, you know, with his series and, you know, obviously we're lucky to have the audience, and thank you so much for you know, for having me back. And obviously, Andy, you've been doing some great work on our channel and on your own channel, Wrestling Royalty, as well. Please do go and subscribe to Wrestling Royalty if you haven't yet. And thank you for being a part of our channel as well. Andy, you know, you're going to WrestleMania. You were there last year with us. You're going again this year. Are you excited? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm flying out on Wednesday morning, so this is obviously recorded on late on Monday. So yeah, this time tomorrow I'll be hopefully going to bed, ready for an early flight. I arrive into Philly late afternoon, evening on Wednesday. I'm going to go check out Washington DC on Thursday for a few hours.
Do it. It's great. It's
just kind of like see some sights, and then Thursday I'm going to the WrestleCon Super Show. Might check out, you know, depending on how long the day is. There's another few shows. The great thing about WrestleMania, if you haven't been, there is shows all day, every day of that weekend. So we're going to go check out at least the WrestleCon show, and then on Friday we are going to go check out the WWE World, which is their kind of like new version of Access, which is organized by Fanatics. There's obviously like panels and autographs and expo and exhibition stuff, merchandise. The shop is going to be there. We're then going to go to a Progress show, and then we're going to head across to SmackDown and the Hall of Fame, listen to what I think is going to be a killer speech by Paul Heyman. That was really cool. I heard a comment that he made. He's not written a speech because he wants to take the kind of the feeling of the room as to whether he's going to talk about his ECW days, or he's going to talk about the most recent stuff, or anything in between. So I really like that idea because Paul Heyman's like such a good talker, and like I'm really excited for that. And then obviously Saturday, really stupidly, I'm going for a 5K run that end next to the Rocky Steps. So I'm going to try and get some video of that. And you can see all that sort of stuff on my other channel, which is Roller Coaster of Running. If you like sort of like running inspirational stuff, I'm a pretty average guy when it comes to, I'm middle of the pack. Like I'm not an athlete in the sense of like, you know, I don't dedicate, but I try. So I'm going to have that. And then we go across NXT Stand and Deliver, and in about 8 minutes time, I'm going to go for a preview of NXT Stand and Deliver. There's a great card shaping up there, which is going to be on both Gimme a Hull Yeah here and across on Wrestling Royalty. So check that out in about 8 minutes. Stay with me. You can have another half an hour. It's going to be quick. We're not going to go too long, but yeah, we're going to do that. And then the main thing is WrestleMania, man. WrestleMania night 1 and 2. I'm so excited. I think they've done a great job of making this the biggest WrestleMania ever. But yeah, fantastic build. And they've still got a couple of shows. And tonight, I believe, is Dan doing a stream, because you can watch.
Dan is doing a stream of Monday Night Raw right here on the Gimme a Hull Yeah Wrestling podcast. And so go and support Dan because he's amazing. And thank you so much for supporting this channel, and thank you so much for supporting us as well. And you know, Andy, go and have a wonderful time at WrestleMania. If you're watching this and you're going to WrestleMania, have a great time. Go and say hi to Andy. And of course, thank you to any Fireflies that have joined us today or are joining us afterwards as well. Thank you so much for being here. The documentary was amazing. I do want to say, you know, thank you to the people that have come in, Big Smoke, Toxic Blocks, who's been in here supporting us. And just kind of thank you so much for your energy. Mark, LFC UK, of course, Nemeth 45, Tom Talks Rubbish, who's done some great work with us, Sam Smith, who is also on the channel, our SmackDown presenter. Thank you for popping in and saying hi, Stephen, as well. And Kiwan Webster too. Honestly, thank you so much for the comments, and thank you to anyone coming and watching this back. Andy, I know you've got a stream to do right here on the Gimme a Hull Yeah podcast and over on Wrestling Royalty. This is also on Wrestling Royalty, by the way. We're cross-platforming everywhere. We're crossing streams everywhere these days. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, thank you so much for your support. We really, really appreciate it. Go and watch Becoming Immortal. I'll put the poster up. I believe I've got it here. Oh, no, I did have it somewhere. Go and watch Becoming Immortal. It's on Peacock now. VPN, watch wrestling, whatever your poison is. Just go and enjoy it if you can. Hopefully you can get a sense that we loved it and we were incredibly emotionally invested in it. I'm going to go and watch bits of it back now.
Let us know in the comments as well, where if you do watch it or if you have watched it, let us know if you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, because there are things maybe like seeing Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Was it needed? Was the Undertaker's like part as narrator? I thought he did a great job, but was that the best person to have on this? Was it a tenuous link at best? But there's going to be things that people don't enjoy. But let us know. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Anything? Just let us know. What did you think of Bray Wyatt becoming immortal?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you again really soon. Take it easy. Bye, Andy. Have a great time at WrestleMania. And bye, guys. See you soon. Enjoy WrestleMania week. This is WrestleMania week. Enjoy it. And oh yeah, that's what we do, isn't it? I've forgotten how to outro. Oh yeah. I haven't queued up the yet. This is, you can tell I've not done this for ages. But thank you all so much for your patience with me. We'll have Mick again. Mick's lovely. Oh no, we'll have Shotzi. Let's have Shotzi. Bye guys. See you soon. Oh yeah. Thanks for watching.
Hello, this is Shotzi Blackheart, and welcome to Gimme a Whole Yeah! I hope everyone checking this out in Yorkshire and beyond is having a great day.